Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verses 11 to 20.
सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत लोभः प्रवृत्तिरारम्भः कर्मणामशमस्पृहा रजस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे भरतर्षभ अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे कुरु नन्दन यदा सत्त्वे प्रवृद्धे तु प्रलयं याति देहभृत् तदोत्तमविदां लोकान् अमलान् प्रतिपद्यते रजसि प्रलयं गत्वा कर्मसङ्गिषु जायते तथा प्रलीनस्तमसि मूढयोनिषु जायते कर्मणः सुकृतस्याहुः सात्विकं निर्मलं फलम् रजसस्तु फलं दुःखम् अज्ञानं तमसः फलम् सत्त्वात् संजायते ज्ञानं रजसो लोभ एव च प्रमादमोहौ तमसः भवतो ज्ञानमेव च ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ताः मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसाः जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्थाः अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः नान्यं गुणेभ्यः कर्तारं यदा द्रष्टानुपश्यति गुणेभ्यश्च परं वेत्ति मद्भावं सोऽधिगच्छति गुणानेतानतीत्यत्रीन् देही देहसमुद्भवान् जन्म मृत्युजरा दुःखैः विमुक्तो मृतमश्नुते
Na anyam gunebhyah karta.
Auntie, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we say that the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are a classification of the mental temperaments. So are there a classification like we do probably a classification of living things as animals, insects, plants, birds, whatever? Is it like that? or is there any ontological element in it? Like, I mean,
No, it's simple classification. There is no actual thing. No, there is no ontological element. It's just a classification.
the Sankhya's do have that ontological. We don't take that into consideration.
Yes and no. Now, there is Prakriti and we are classifying Prakriti. If you take the Sankhyan stance. If you take the Advaitin stance, then there is no Prakriti, right? So the whole thing falls apart. But yes, if you are looking at it from the third plane of consciousness, then there are two elements. There is Brahman and there is non-Brahman, whatever, Prakriti. So then it's a classification of Prakriti, also known as Vasanas.
For the Sankhya's, Prakriti is not just, it is the constituent of the everything that's there. So so we differ in that respect, in the sense that it is not Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are not constituents. We are just not using that.
What can I say? It doesn't seem to me that we differ. It seems to me, of course, you can take it as just an opinion, is that when people read the text, they seem to read in it things that don't exist. So if you go to actual Sankhya philosophy, read the actual words of the masters there, you would be able to see this. See, in the Bible, in the Quran, in the all other texts, if you're able to see Advaita, why would you not see it in our Indian texts? Of course, each text goes up to a particular point. So, yeah, we've had this debate multiple times, Mahesh, that they're saying the same things. Not everybody follows the same thing. Not everybody understands the same thing out of it. Christ is your savior. What do you understand from that? For some people, it means that Jesus Christ himself will come and save you. For an Advaitin, it means the
Self will save.
the thought of the self will save you. And they take all the trouble to say that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. They want to make it so clear that he is not God, he is Son of God. Meaning what? The thought of the self will save you. The self is not coming to save you. They go out of their way to try and express it in a way that people will understand it. And nobody does. So now, what can you say? So then you say, oh, so then you differ with Christianity. I would never like to say differ with Christianity. I feel if you study Vedanta, you're a better Christian. If you study Vedanta, you'll be a better Sankhyan. So now, take it or leave it. That's how it appears. If you go read original text, it'll appear like that to you also, probably. If you keep reading commentaries on what other people are saying about it, then obviously they are going to. All knowledge is going through us, right? We are the filtration of all knowledge. Now, what does that sentence mean? We were at a restaurant the other day. Surekha, Jayashri, I. And in that restaurant, I've seen it multiple times actually. It was written, Shaw's very famous statement. There's no more sincere love than the love for food. Now, what do you understand by this sentence? That, oh, people love food a lot. Is that what you understand? What Shaw is trying to point to us is the whole concept of attachment. You claim you love, right? And you say, oh, I love so dearly. I'm so sincere in my love. So he's saying there is no more sincere love than your love for food. When you say you love chicken, do you love the chicken? When you say I love the brinjal, do you love the brinjal? You love your consumption. It is referring to attachment. There is no love here when you claim it. There is no love when you feel so sincerely, I love this person. Now there's a sentence. There's just a sentence over here. Now, what do you make out of that sentence is up to your mind and intellect, right? What filtration is going through. So if you have to ask me, then I would say no. I don't say we differ from Sankhya's. Just like I would never say we differ from anyone.
Yeah, I think you're Osho on steroids. So you bring everything in the Advaitic fold, like he said, like how we.
I can't see anything else. What can I do? It just seems clearly that. So I'm helpless. Maybe wrong person to ask. It just everything seems like Advaita. What else could it be? How does it all fit in if it is not Advaita?
Okay.
That's an opinion. Now you have to deal with it as you deem best.
Okay. Thank you, Hari.
Yes, Aditi.
Hari Om Shanti. Okay, here the verse 18, I was reading explanation, and it says that a person with extreme tamas could be born even as an animal or a plant. So, just want to know, what does committing suicide come under? Is it extreme tamas?
Suicide?
Yes.
You can't say it like that. How can you classify an action? Yeah.
Okay.
You have to know what was the intent of the suicide. Charles Dane committed suicide, right? You remember the story? Tale of Two Cities? He had to, not Charles Dane, Sydney Point.
Carlton.
Sydney Carlton, thank you. Sydney Carlton wanted to save, he didn't even want to save that guy. He wanted the happiness of his beloved. He loved a girl. That girl loved somebody else and married that other person. Now, it just so happened that this other person, Charles Dane, and Sydney Carlton were similar in looks. Charles Dane, it was the time of the French Revolution, was an aristocrat. But he was so disgusted with all the aristocratic things that he left France and went to England, where he met this girl. They got married and their whole love story. Then the revolution set in, and his people were being tortured in that revolution. He knew that that was not their fault. The fault was of the aristocrats, not of the people who were. So he thought, I will go save them. Bad call he took. Bad call means he's an aristocrat. He lands in France, he's going to be guillotined. And yes, he was caught and sent to the guillotine. And of course, it's such a thick novel and shortening this whole thing. So he's sent to guillotine. Now, Sydney Carlton is going to have this other man out of the way, right? Because this guy's going to die. There's no way you can be saved from that. He's under even prison. So he should be rejoicing, right? He should be saying, oh, what fun. Now this guy is gone. I have another chance with my beloved. That's not what he does. What he does is, because they're similar in looks, he pretends to be his lawyer, which he was a lawyer, pretends to be his lawyer, pretends to be extremely sick, and goes to visit Dani. And what do you call it? Gives him smelling salts, he faints. Then he changes their clothes. And he calls the guard and says he was very sick and he seems to have fainted. Send him away. And the people are ready outside to take him away, and he is taken to England and saved. Sydney Carlton is in jail waiting to be guillotined. Is this not suicide? He knows perfectly well that he is going to die, and he goes there. But he says his famous words. It's a far, far better thing I do than I have done. It's a far, far better rest I go to than I have known.
Janki ji, that is for a purpose, right? There
Yeah.
are
You
people.
didn't give me any data other than suicide. So
No, it's
the
just
point is, remember, the point is, what's the point?
it is the act, not. It depends on the intent when you're doing the action.
Good. So suicide is, I've taken an action which I know is going to kill me, but you can't decide based on that. Somebody may do it out of tamas, somebody may do it out of rajas, somebody may do it out of sattva. You're just calling it different names, remember that. But it's the death by self-choice. What about if a person is suffering from a terminal illness and chooses to end their existence? So it just depends on what is your intent. Yeah, okay, I've got terminal illness. Should I what is it called?
Euthanasia.
Yeah, shall I take euthanasia or should I live this through? Then I know one lady, she got cancer. Okay. And she refused to take the cancer medication. She said, I've got cancer, I'm going to die. She didn't take the medication. I mean, it's her choice, nobody can force her. What would you put on that? See, all people who are choosing their own death. She didn't take euthanasia, she just did take the medicine. Suppose we know somebody, a close person to us, okay, who's on ventilator. At what stage will you remove that tube? So then are you committing murder? So it's very complex. You can't make these judgments until you know the whole position. And remember, everybody is a mixture of tamas, rajas, and sattva. So that particular combination gives a particular result also.
So why is it written in that extreme tamas? If there is never an extreme tamas, then why is it there in the book?
No, who says there's no extreme tamas? I'm just debating whether suicide is an extreme tamas.
Okay. Like
Extreme,
someone who's just out of no reason, like okay, broke up with a girlfriend, it still again can fall into categories of or did not get the desired marks that you get, and then
all this is rajas. I don't think you're able to conceive what is the extreme tamas.
yeah, I'm not being able to conceive. And I've been
Okay.
thinking about it, and I'm just not been able to grasp that what could be extreme tamas.
No emotional reaction to anything, no intellectual reaction to anything, no physical reaction to anything. Means you see an accident. Okay, what we were discussing in class that day. You see an accident. Somebody reacts emotionally. How sad that this accident happened. Somebody reacts intellectually. Why did it happen? How do we prevent it next time? What action should we take so that it doesn't ever happen again? Or physically, oh, somebody's met with an accident, you run and help. Or you say, oh my God, it's somebody's met with an accident, I run away from there, otherwise I will get into trouble. Whatever. You're taking some action physically, emotionally, or intellectually. Extreme tamas is you're not doing this. Imagine a rock. There's an accident that takes place in front of a rock. What does the rock do? Okay, now little better than extreme tamas will be some slight reaction. Sure. Accident hua. Slight reaction. He's registered an accident took place. But no feelings, no thinking, no action, nothing. That's extreme tamas. You're muted.
So a person who would be taking some substance and completely, zoned out throughout his life, would that be considered as extreme tamas, or that is again still depending on what other
If
feelings?
he's zoned out, he's now in a unclassifiable state. The reason he took the drugs
Yes.
will classify him somewhere. See, when you're zoned out, it's like you're ill. If you're ill, how can we classify you? take a spinach. Now is the spinach healthy? Now this is rotten spinach. What are you going to classify it as? It's not coming within the periphery of it, right? Now it's not spinach, now it's junk. So you can't classify it in grades of spinach because it's rotten now, it's not spinach. So when you're sick, whether you have a physical ailment or a mental ailment, you can't be classified there. Because you can't say a person who is in, let us say, depression. You can't classify him as tamasic. Just like if you have a person who's got tuberculosis, you can't classify that person as tamasic. He's in bed because he's got an ailment. So a person with depression, when depression, I mean clinical depression. I don't mean, nowadays we say depression for everything. He's feeling sad, he's depressed. He's not doing something, he's depressed. Could be. Clinically, you're diagnosed as depressed. Then you can't classify. It's gone out of the range of classification. So it's an ailment now. Now you're going to be classified in a different set.
But then again, even if a person who's like a rock without taking any substance or anything, it's very difficult to fathom because there would have been a reason why he became like this into this state, like a rock, where they're all feelings.
Became. That means he is now this. Okay. On weekdays, everybody is very rajasic. On Sundays, they are. You don't say they became tamasic because of that rajas. All that you don't say. At the moment, what is happening? At the moment, he doesn't want to do anything. Don't say became. We are not going into their past. We're saying what they are now. If you go into what was the past and all this kind of story, then everything will go right back to Brahman.
Oh.
So you can't do it. What is it now?
All right. Thank you. I'm still finding it very difficult how an extreme tamas is,
Yeah.
but that's
Nobody
fine.
is very happy with the answers. It's okay.
Yeah.
It is
There's
what
a
it is.
definite you can say that this is extreme tamas as you can kind of go into rajas and all of that, but then extreme tamas is something which there's no example which can really.
Why? Anybody, you see people on the road just sitting there doing nothing. You go try sitting there and doing nothing like that. Just sit under a tree, do nothing for days on end.
But they may be thinking something, right? Some rajasic thought or some thought.
Then now, if they're thinking, what will happen?
Yeah,
You keep adding data, then the
yeah. Okay, got it. It's a difficult thing to fathom that a person can be not thinking, not doing anything, and just sitting like. But yeah, okay, take that.
Yeah, one of these days you will feel very tamasic. You see what happens. See, all of this, all of us do. There'll be some day in your life where you don't want to do anything, you don't want to feel anything, and you don't want to think anything. Now, once you've found that in yourself, you will be able to figure out other people who are like that.
But that would just be a day. It would not count for a person to get birth as an animal or a plant.
Yeah, and it won't be a day. You won't be able to manage for a day like that. I'm just talking about maybe 10 minutes, maybe 1 hour, I don't know, whatever, some small time where you felt like that. From there, you extrapolate because you always have to take knowledge from something known to something unknown. If you divorce it from your own experience, you will never understand.
Yes. Thank you, Bharat.
Okay, Bharat, it's a far, far better thing I do than I've ever done. It is a far, far better rest I go to than I have ever known. Deep Raj. Suicide by tamas can be someone who refuses to take vaccine because of some conspiracy they heard or merely not wanting to educate themselves on what a vaccine is. Yes, that is true.
Ma'am, that is Rajesh, right, ma'am? Because he is not putting effort to study or understand.
No, if he does it out of fear, then it is Rajas. Here it is,
Effort.
yeah, lack of effort is what I
Okay.
have understood. If when it's symbolized by lack of effort, that is tamas.
That is tamas. Okay. But even, okay, Rajesh, we like to put in effort.
If no, not that you like to put in effort. Nobody likes to put in effort. A Rajasic person puts in effort because they are hoping to get something or hoping to get away from something.
Okay.
They are not interested in effort.
Okay. No,
Only
no
a
one is
sattvic
interested.
person, yeah, a sattvic person says, okay, Baba, I have to put in this effort, I will put.
Okay.
क्या करे
Thank
अब
you, ma'am.
करना पड़ रहा है. Then Milind, we should discuss what is extreme sattva. Yes, that is correct. We should discuss sattva. Extreme sattva we cannot discuss because extreme sattva is
Realization.
Realization.
very good. Realization. Extreme sattva is realization. However, you will notice that as you pursue the Jnana Yoga path, you get stuck on some question. And that question has to be dealt with. Otherwise, your mind will never go further from that point. It will get stuck there. So we have to deal with it. And so rest of us have to put up with it. I can't say anything because when I was a student, I drove my teacher completely mad. I wouldn't let him any class. I doubt if there was any class without a question. They used to call me question queen. No class. Sometimes they also tell me, today you ask class, okay, you got too much study work to do, so you just ask some questions. So the thing is, when you start thinking, there is no saying where you get stuck. So we have to deal with it. Everyone is like that. Everybody wants class time to be spent on their question, but nobody else's question. Now that can't work either. It's everybody's questions or nobody's question. It's very surprising. We were asking people, what do you think are the advanced, what is the USP or whatever, some marketing question there. What is the USP of these classes? To which, very surprisingly, considering the amount of complaints we got about it, many people gave the response that they are, anyone remembers? That they always say this as a USP, that they are interactive.
Yeah,
You
there.
remember all of this, which is an interesting thing, right? The maximum complaints we have got is that we are interactive. दोनों साइड से अब क्या करें हम लोग. So you're right. I mean, it does take patience to, when somebody else asks the question, it's very clear to us. But when we ask the question, we sort of get inside. So everybody develop patience because your chance is also coming. Don't worry. Now I made everybody unhappy today. Okay. Chalo. Let us get back to what were we doing. Any other questions? Frightened to ask. Okay. Any other questions? Right. So what were we doing? Na anyam gunebhya. Gunebhya means then the gunas. Na anyam, no other. Gunebhya kartaram. Oh God, if we could only understand this. It is the difference between, in English, you would say it as hate the crime, not the criminal. We are never able to make this division between the person and an action of the person. So, how do you make that difference? By understanding that that person is the self. That action is by the gunas, is by the prakriti. See, Mahesh, even now we're saying by the gunas. Even here he's saying Na anyam gunebhyah kartaram. What do you understand by this? Is there something called a guna that is doing it? You could take it like that, right? And yet we will never accept that there's a force. In the Bible, all the negativity that is done by a individual is shown to be done because of
Satan.
Satan. Now, what do you think of that? Do you think that there is a Satan and he comes and sits on your shoulder and he comes and tells you all sorts of things in your ears and makes you do all sorts of negative things? There are people who take it like that. And then they describe Satan. His feet never touch the ground. You are aware of this? Satan's feet are not supposed to touch the ground, a little above the ground. Think about it. Why do you think they would say Satan's feet don't touch the ground? If Satan's feet did touch the ground, क्या बड़ा होने वाला था? Think about it. They're going out of their way to show that it has got nothing to do with an earthly reality. Earthly reality means things that you see with your senses. It is outside that causation. Because everything that you know of has to rest their feet on the ground, right? Now, here is a being that doesn't have to rest its feet on the ground. Even if a bird goes up, it eventually has to rest its feet somewhere. Imagine a creature that never has to rest its feet anywhere. This is not an earthly reality. It's going out of their way to tell you that it's not an earthly reality. And yet we will say, oh, there is a Satan and his feet never touch the ground. So, what you understand from these things is a very important thing. That is why the knowledge of Vedanta is very important, because you begin to see it in the way the person meant it, not in the way your mental equipment is seeing it. So,
That's possible only for a self-realized person to see it in that way, right?
No, why?
Because you have to be at that level.
Not really. You have to be able to what should I say? To see that every bit of knowledge you have has to somehow fit into a whole. If it doesn't fit into the whole, something is wrong. Either the whole has to change or the piece of information has to change. There cannot be truths which are contradictory. When they appear contradictory, that means you have to think to resolve that contradiction. So once you have the philosophical pieces in place, you know that it can't move out of this thing. Because the moment you move a single block, something else is going to go out. It could be discrimination and it could be spiritual growth. Like a bhakta won't think all this. But a bhakta will know it anyway. Means assuming same development.
So why do we say only a Milton can understand a Milton? We've said that quite often.
Because you really don't understand unless you put in all the work yourself. It's not possible. No? You put in that work. If a person woke up every single day in the morning and studied for 40 years, is it possible that somebody who has not done this, but started at more or less the same level, will have the same hold on the information? Can't be, no? Because you get the results of what you do. Now you say, no, but I know somebody who did it for only 10 years and has better knowledge. Possible, because the starting point was higher, but the starting point was higher because the work was already done. It's all causation. Simple causation. All achievement is causation. Nothing in this on this planet is outside causation. It's so matter of fact. So that's why it says Prakriti does everything. That means it's all in the realm of causation. Na anyam gunebhyah kartaram. न गुणेभ्यः अन्य कर्तारम्. Can't be. Everything has to follow a particular channel of causation. There is no alternative to this. You may try very hard and say that let us hope that कि कुछ miracle हो जाए. नहीं होता. It is as simple or as difficult as that. You want to learn French, you put in the effort, you will know French. Simple. You want to sing, you put in the kind of effort that Aditi puts into singing, you will sing like her, assuming you're starting at same levels. Aditi, how much riyaz do you do daily?
Thankfully, now I've started doing a lot more than what I used to do earlier. But yeah, about 2-3 hours.
2-3 hours. That is why she gets to sing bhajans and we get to clap. You can't get it without the work. People, you tell me, how can you put up Vedanta University? It's an impossible task. Impossible? What does impossible mean? Put one step after the next step and you will reach your destination. If you sit here and say, oh, so difficult, so difficult, nothing will happen. It's all in the realm of causation. Na gunebhyaha anyam kartaram. So, I mean, it's so simple in a sense and so complicated in a sense because we are not able to put in the causes and we don't get the effects. Yes, Mahesh.
So we're talking about the cause and effect thing. So the cause is vasanas, right? The causal body.
No, not here. Not here. When we're talking about cause and effect, we are saying everything is done by cause and effect. Suppose I make that statement, everything is done by cause and effect. What do you understand? That there's an entity called cause and effect? That's
Causal
not what you
body.
understand, right?
Okay.
So when you say na anya kartaram gunebhyaha, there's no other actor than the gunas. It's like saying there's no other actor other than causation.
Yeah, we call the vasanas as the causal body. So I was just looking at it. It could be the cause of.
Yeah, it would be, but I'm only talking about the usage of language. That's not the point over here. The point is you can make it sound like there is a causation, there is some entity called causation that's making everything happen. And when you want to explain it to uneducated people, you do put it like that because they can't grasp an abstract concept. So you like when you say Satan is making you do this, and you give attributes to Satan. He has horns on his head. He does, his feet are not on the ground. All these attributes you start giving for people who are not able to understand the abstract concept that desire makes you do stupid things. So in language, it sounds like, oh, there is no actor other than the gunas. So then these people set off. There is something called gunas and they're making you do things. No, it's not a guna, Baba, it's just a classification. So then you're saying, no, it is vasanas. Yes, it is vasanas. But vasanas in their manifested form. So gunas is a classification of mental temperaments. That means your manifested vasanas.
Okay, thank you.
Na anyam gunebhyah kartaram. Or if you put it in prose, na anyam kartaram gunebhyah. There is no other doer than the gunas. Or you can put it as there is no other doer than the vasanas. And if the vasanas are in that manner, you have no option but to be that person. Can you argue with a rose? I don't like your fragrance. Please give a better fragrance. Can you argue with a rose? Come on, do some self-development. You're very good in fragrance, but your thorns are terrible. You must remove them. Can you do that? I am going to give you a motivational talk, Mr. Rose, so that you are interested in self-development and you remove your negative qualities. Do any of this. Now, why are you trying this stunt with humans? Do you think the human is going to say, oh, thank you for pointing out all my faults, and I'm now happy to change according to whatever you want? Have you ever seen anybody in the world who says this? Then what is this expectation? Say we are all of us, or many of us, are over 50 in this class, right? Many of us are over 50. These youngsters may not know, but over 50. That means 50 years you've been on planet Earth. Have you met anyone when you pointed out their fault telling you, thank you so much, that's so sweet of you to be so concerned about my development. From today, I am going to change myself to be the perfect person that you have imagined. Now, we can take a quick market test over here. Anybody over here, please raise your hand if you have received that response for any criticism that you have ever given to anyone. Look, my professional life involves my criticizing people. Okay, that's my job. That's what I do. I am yet to meet somebody. And not only that's what I do, people come to me for it. They come to me with the expressed intention of self-development. And if I have ever had the audacity to actually tell somebody that there's something wrong with them, nobody has turned around and said, thank you, so sweet of you. This is exactly what I came here for. So I am over 50. Anybody else? Because youngsters, they'll think, no, and now I'm not met, in the future I'll meet. Anybody over 50 wants to volunteer any information contradictory to this? If you are not volunteering any information contrary to this, then the simple rule to remember is na anyam kartaram gunebhya. There is no actor other than the gunas. Yada drashta anupashyati. When you see this, you are the drashta in this case. When the seer sees this, there's no English words here. Is there an English word seer? I don't know. He's not meaning seer here in the sense of a saint. He's meaning seer here in the sense of a person who sees. If you're able to see this, such a person madbhavam sodhi gacchati. If you are able to see, there is no doer other than the vasanas. Means, can you make this split between the individual and his vasanas? You don't have to condone those vasanas. You don't have to say, oh, Rose, what beautiful thorns you have. You don't have to condone it. But accept it or not, those thorns are a fact of life. You are welcome to not accept it. You are welcome to fight it. You are welcome to give lectures. The fact is, it is what it is. Get used to it or don't. If you get used to it, you are a happy person. If you don't get used to it, you keep complaining. Main kya karun? Quite simple, right? Yes, Deepraj.
How do you understand this Nanya Kartara from the perspective of Purusharth? Because Purusharth is beyond Vasanas and by definition beyond Gunas. But that also contributes to action, right? So how do you understand this?
You cannot dictate to another person how they're going to use their Purusharth. Can I tell you, Deepraj, use your Purusharth to grow horns? You say, I don't want to grow horns. Why should I grow horns? Am I Satan? You can't dictate your will to another. You see, Purushartha is an independent element, right? No teacher, no knowledge, no books, no intellect, no nothing can influence it. It's the independent element. So now how will you tell another person to use your Purushartha? Can't. You can choose yourself and thereby change your gunas, thereby change your vasana, if you make that choice. But how is anyone supposed to make you make that choice?
No, but like not other people, but I myself can change my gunas. So that is also activity. So that is also some activity happening which is not from the gunas. But here it says na anya kartaram. So like how do those two things fit?
Because when you exert, firstly, your Purushartha is only one. Your vasanas are billions. Right? So statistically, na anyam kartaram. Statistically. However, correct, right? One versus billions. So mathematically correct, no? Statistically not acceptable. But more importantly is when that Purushartha has exerted itself sufficiently and created the vasana, only then will the action take place. So, na anyam kartaram.
Yeah, but because ultimately the action flows from vasanas. So so even if Purushartha is making the corrections, it's making it at the vasana level. So
It is pre-vasana.
all yeah yeah yeah. So he's making the corrections at the vasana level. So everything anyway is flowing out of that vasana that has been constructed. So at the end it becomes Nanya Kartana. Got it. Thank you.
First one was also right statistically for a mathematician.
No.
No?
No, but we have to take strength into account. So it's weighted average. You cannot just do average. Na. You have to do weighted average. And the Purushartha is Purushartha.
Yeah, but suppose there's Muhammad Ali. Okay. And there is 100 of us. I don't know whether Muhammad Ali will be able to deal with us. Now there is Muhammad Ali and 1 billion. And these desires are not altu faltu, chote chote things. You deal with that desire and see for yourself. So it's not like the desire has no strength. Purushartha does have more strength, that is correct. But that the desires are weak is not true. So still, statistically,
Yeah, but Purushartha is like really, I mean, it can wipe out vasanas. It's like it's a divine instrument.
it
So
can
it's
wipe out, but how long will it take? Therefore, your ultimate method of wiping out vasanas is not Purushartha. Because by the time Purushartha wipes out, it will be a long, long journey.
also it's a double-edged sword. It can also create.
What happens if it goes with the vasanas? Then you've had it. Okay? Ajay Kasotia. What is the relationship between vasanas and gunas? Vasanas are an unmanifest form of our thoughts. When the thoughts manifest, that means when the vasanas manifest, they become thoughts. The thoughts then are classified into the gunas. Okay? Because you can't classify vasanas. Technically, theoretically, you cannot classify vasanas because vasanas cannot be comprehended. It's like a person is in deep sleep. What are you going to classify him? Only when he wakes up and he starts exhibiting something can we say something about the person. So we don't classify vasanas technically, okay? Properly speaking, you do not classify vasanas, you classify thoughts.
So when the vasanas get manifested, it can be classified, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
To the gunas. Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, Komal.
Yes, Namaste, Janki ji. As I was just thinking on the lines of Deepraj, what we discussed right now, what came to the mind is that our Purushartha, the kind of Purushartha we will do, also depends upon our gunas only. So ultimately, it boils down to gunas.
No, you are using the word Purushartha in the Hindi sense. Yani ki effort karo. But Purushartha
Effort.
in Vedanta is not that Purushartha. Purushartha in Vedanta is an independent element apart from vasanas which we have.
Oh. So
There
it doesn't depend upon our gunas, the kind of Purushartha.
No, I mean the Sanskrit one, the one we are using. In Hindi, of course, that the effort depends on vasanas, the Hindi one. There's a video on it on the channel, so you can have a look at it. It's called Free Will and
Yes.
Destiny, I think.
Yeah, ultimately, that ever question always comes in.
So that free will, that you can read that.
Yes,
listen to that video. Okay, so na anyam kartaram gunebhyah yada drashta anupashyati. When the drashta anupashyati sees properly. Anupashyati, not pashyati means to see. Anupashyati means to see properly. Gunebhyascha param veti. Gunebhyah param veti. Veti means to know. So beyond gunas, you know something. Such a person realizes the self. Can we say a rose by any other name would smell as sweet, be interpreted as the gunas of the rose in any other form or person will always result in the same effect? Yes. Yes, Meera, we can say that. That wherever this cause exists, that effect will exist. So,
Hariom ma'am, can I ask a question or later? This is related to Deepraj. See, Purusharth will not, I'm slightly confused. Purusharth will not help you remove all the vasanas because the strength of the vasanas is greater. So is it Purushartha plus wisdom? So what is the thing that will remove?
No, Purushartha will help you remove all vasanas, but you can't rely on it. You have to rely on creating more and more vasanas. I mean, or identifying with your vasanas, which are also maybe Purushartha can be involved in that. The thing is, in terms of practical sadhana, don't think about Purushartha at all. Practical sadhana continues to be the same. You identify with higher values in yourself till you're able to perceive something even higher and then identify with that.
Okay, so higher values will help remove. For that, wisdom is needed, right?
I don't know if you can say that because higher values is wisdom. It's not wisdom until you have digested it, right?
Okay.
So you need knowledge which you have thought about and which you have practically executed for that knowledge to get digested in the system. When it's digested, it becomes wisdom, and the result of wisdom is that you behave like that automatically.
Yes, ma'am, that I understood. That part is understood. But self-effort will not get you to the end. That's the thing, right? Or
No. Wait, I don't know where you're coming from. Self-effort will not get you to the end. Of course, it will get you to the end.
okay.
But in terms of practical sadhana, don't think about these things.
Okay.
There is nothing else to take you to the end, no. But you don't keep waiting ki one day my Purushartha will decide, then it will remove this. All this you don't do. You work on studying, you work on gaining knowledge, all of that. Momita. So service is a means to see that is the good, to see that it is the gunas and not the person. Yes, that's one of the means. It is a very, very interesting thing how service and knowledge are connected. The more service a person does, the more inherent knowledge comes out. Because eventually, sadhana means what? It's removal of desires. So desires can be removed by either karma or bhakti or jnana. If you use only jnana or use only bhakti or use only karma, you're slowing down the process. So when you do all in the right proportion, the mental agitations, desires cease, and what is inherent knowledge comes out. So service, yes, is a means, just as bhakti is a means and jnana is a means. But the more you do karma, initially our focus should be on 1 hour morning studies, and the day is of service. That is the way initial sadhana should take. And by initial, don't say, okay, 6 months I did it. Initial can mean decades. That's the way to do it. And service has to be, I mean, it's not just service, it's not just, oh, I intended to serve. The end result has to be achieved. Because that's where the sacrifice is taking place. See, what is the method of karma? That the sacrifice has taken place, that you put something more important than what you wanted or felt or thought. That is the tipping point.
The reason I'm asking is because when I do it in relationships deliberately, I just end up feeling more frustrated than elevated by the experience, and I start doubting myself only.
What is the hit?
The service. Like I'm going to do this act without expectation, or I'm going to assess this person according to who they are, not what I want them to be, and then proceed.
And then you get frustrated.
Yeah, because then I'm again back to not being able to see that it is not them, it is the Gunas.
Maybe you're taking too high a leap then. You have to be a bit, because there's no way that can cause frustration. See, something has to be wrong in this thing. Because causal effects, if causal relationships cannot change, if genuinely you can see that this person, you will feel amused by that person's behavior, not irritated by it.
That's the intention. So I note that, okay, now I know that this person is, they have these ways of responding. So I'm prepared and braced.
But that's why you're making probably a mistake. I don't know. You will have to figure out what you're not doing correctly. And that's the great advantage of doing things, because then you're able to see, Achha, this is not working. So what is it that I'm not getting over here? So I'm braced. That means you're expecting some problem as it is. Since you're expecting a problem, that means you're not seeing it as the gunas. Otherwise, what's the problem that you're expecting? Suppose I think Momita is a very hot-tempered person. So if I say this to her, she's going to get very angry with me. Now I'm braced for it.
Oh, okay.
That's not right. It has to be that if I say Momita is a very hot-tempered person, then I have to know myself also. Right? How am I dealing with it? I can't handle all this hot temper and all. I'm not dealing. I can do that. I don't have to brace myself and put up with everybody's nonsense in this world. So you have to figure out what you're doing rightly or incorrectly. Okay. It has to be such that it becomes harmonious.
So I'm not assessing myself correctly.
Something is going incorrect. Yes, you're not assessing yourself. You're missing something. I mean, without facts, one can't analyze, but something is.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So that's it for today. Hariom.
Hariom.
Thank you.
Hariom.